What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Investing Bros. We got a great show lined up for you guys today. So sad to have missed yesterday, guys. That was not fun. We did not want to miss, but with a couple things going on down in Florida for T-Shroom and a couple things happening up here in Georgia for me, and unfortunately had to miss the show. But we got a big announcement today you do not want to miss. We will make that announcement right after the technical analysis section. So yes, I'm sorry. We're going to make you stay in for a little while longer, but go ahead and smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel and if you're excited about our big announcement. Also, we got a lot to talk about today because now there's some speculation here, but does Bitcoin have a new fan? And none other than a known hater of Bitcoin and crypto, Louis C.K. We're going to be talking about that and a lot more. I don't know if you guys saw a tweet he put out recently, but it's a very intriguing tweet that makes you have to ask the question, how does he feel about crypto now? Also, we got some other news involving XRP. We got some news involving the Binance SEC situation. So make sure you don't go anywhere and you stick around for the entire episode. With that said, though, I am joined by the amazing, talented, and handsome Mr. T-Shroom from down there in Florida. T-Shroom, how you feeling?
I'm feeling handsomer than I deserve after that, Tim.
Yeah.
Feeling very, very good. And I've got a quote of the day here from Leo Tolstoy, of all people. Haven't quoted him too much on the show, but he said, everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Tim, what do you think of that one?
I love that quote. I mean, of course, you could kind of go on a similar quote. Wasn't it Michael Jackson talking about, like, if you want to see change in the world, start with the man in the mirror? I don't know if that's the exact lyrics, but that's the equivalence of the lyrics. No, it's true. It's everyone wants to focus on changing every single thing around them, but few actually want to look internal and change themselves. To quote another famous person in history, a lot of people like to try to remove the speck out of their neighbor's eye, but they can't even see clearly through the log in their own. So I love that quote, and I'm a big proponent of that. Listen, there's a lot of things we all can come into agreement on this, that if you look at the world's a screwed up place right now, and we need to change it. However, personal accountability and personal betterment is and should be everybody's main priority in fixing the world. If we all take advantage and better ourselves, watch how much better the world actually gets as a place. But it's hard. It's easier to say that than it is to do that, T-Shroom. I'm very aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But I do want to read one comment here. And again, we're not going to talk about sports ball for too long, but prayers out to Nick Chubb. The kid Coem said, poor Nick Chubb. Hope he knows about crypto. I have a feeling that a lot of players know about crypto. But yeah, in case you guys didn't know, that's a football player he's a very good football player and is known as one of the most reliable ones, but he had his knee obliterated. I mean, that thing looked like putty when the whole thing was said and done after that play. So prayers for him, his career, the Browns, who he was their only talent on the team. It was a rough night last night. But again, this is not time to talk about sports ball, but yeah, whenever you hear and see someone get hurt like that, you want to throw out prayers and best wishes. But yeah, T-Shroom, because you were down in St. Pete yesterday. How was your St. Pete trip?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got to install a very, very nice podcast studio for a client who wants to start podcasting. So, guys, the trend has not ended. That's for sure. People are only increasing their podcasting. More and more folks coming online to dispel a lot of myths, a lot of lies that centralized media have been circulating for years and years, really since the 30s. So, podcasts are not going away.
Well, let's go ahead, T-Shroom. Glad to have you back in your art studio.
That's right.
But let's go ahead and get into the show today. Let's start off with our economic outlook of the day. Now, this is something that's actually more important than you would even think. And T-Shroom's covering it here just a little bit. But the EU's inflation rate came out at 5 a.m. this morning, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for them, that's like what, like 10 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock a.m.
That's right.
But it came out to 5.2%. Last month was 5.3. The consensus and forecast that T-Shroom is covering says 5.3%. So The EU actually coming out a little bit lower in their inflation could be part of a reason why we are continuing to see bullish action in Bitcoin. Just so you guys know, the United States, the UK, and the EU, their inflation numbers tend to have at least somewhat of an impact on the price of cryptocurrency. So seeing a more bullish sign, seeing the inflation rate come down is actually a positive thing for crypto happening over there. This morning, we also got the building permits came out here in the United States at 1.54 million. So in this one, we're actually coming out a little higher. Last month, 1.44. The expectation was that we would stay the same at 1.443, but that did not happen. We actually jumped up to 1.54 million right there. Make sure you guys are staying tuned tomorrow. I do not think we're going live, and unless T-Shroom for some reason had a plan. Yeah, I don't think so either. So we're not going to be going live for this. Maybe in the future, maybe not. We don't know. But we definitely will discuss the federal interest rate decision tomorrow morning. Again, heavy expectation is we're going to get a pause. But then the most important detail is this one right here. The FOMC economic projections. Or sorry, not that one. Sorry, down here. Fed press conference. This is going to be very important because, again, while the interest rate decisions are important themselves, what's more important more recently is what Jerome Powell says from the podium. We got a super chat from Elliot Locke saying, "We were so lonely without y'all yesterday." LOL. I'm so sorry, Elliot. Jack didn't even get a good night's sleep. Jack Meoffer. Everyone knows he comes in here every morning to sleep. Did not get that privilege. I'm so sorry, Jack. Really let you down. Let's move on and talk a little bit more about those FOMC predictions. Let's take a look at our Fed tool. Let's get a refresh here on the page. There we go. 99% chance we are going to get a rate pause. So we can go ahead and probably say with a decent amount of security here and perception, we're going to get a pause here in September. Let's take a look. We haven't done this here recently. Let's take a look at what November is already saying. November is already leaning towards 70%, another pause. December, we're looking at about 60% saying another pause, with 35% saying another rate hike. January, about 60% saying paused, but we're now starting to see a couple people come in January predicting maybe they consider a rate cut in January. March, 54% pause, but now we're picking up steam that there's rate cuts. May, let's see what we have here. Still pause, but a lot of steam picking up, and I believe it's going to stick to this point. June is still the point. It's pretty even, though. This is something to keep your eyes on, guys. 35.5% saying we will get our first 25 basis cut in June, but almost 35% saying we will stay paused. It's now kind of looking more like the safe bet is July, whereas June had been the safe bet more recently. So definitely want to keep our eyes on that as we move forward. Let's keep going on with our economic outlook this morning. Let's refresh this page. Come on now, load for me. There we go. 24 hours. We do see Bitcoin in the green, which is not a good thing. That means there were more longs liquidated, but it's not necessarily too bad. Only $17 million worth of longs were liquidated versus $10 million worth of shorts. To me, this is just people losing money, but you guys are going to look when we go to the charts. We're back up above 27,000. I think it's just some people got a little bit overexposed. We have a little bit of a pullback, but we'll talk about that during the TA section. Ethereum had $7.7 million worth of longs liquidated, but $6.5 million worth of shorts. So that's pretty balanced, pretty even. Number 3 is this TRB. TRB has been up in this top list a decent amount. So there must be a decent amount of trading going on with this TRB that is always ranking as one of the top amount of liquidations, T-Shroom. Something maybe we should take a little bit deeper of a look into. Let's keep moving on, though. Look at our Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. Let me refresh this page. We're sitting at 46, still technically in the fear. So watch as that continues to grow. I don't know if we're going to technically get a pull all the way into greed. I guess that would depend. Do we stop at 28.6 if we keep moving bullishly? Do we make it to 29,000? Do we make a push to 30,000? I would imagine if we make a push to 29 or 30,000, we are seeing this tick into greed, and that probably would be an indication that price is going to start slowing down. But keep your eyes on the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. Let's take a look at our coin market cap open this morning. Technically within the last 24 hours, because we did get a surge earlier yesterday morning. And of course, that was the sad thing. We weren't able to cover it on the show yesterday, but we're technically down this morning, last 24 hours, even though we are above 27,000, pushing towards 27.2 as we speak. But we're down less than 1% for Bitcoin, down over a 1% for Ethereum. But then you move into some of these other altcoins. BNB is down, but XRP up 1.3% within the last 24 hours. Cardano up 0.5, Toncoin up 0.7. Let's see if there's any big movers. DOT is down 2.27%. That's the most of the top 20 it's looking like, but that's not really that significant of a drop. So I'm not necessarily too worried. Bitcoin Cash down almost 2%. That kind of wraps up bigger movers, which aren't a lot in the top 20. Let's take a look at the top gainers and losers, which, by the way, they're not very big numbers. GMX is up 3.66%. Oasis Network up 3.24%. Conflux 2.4%. The Graph is up almost 2%. Stacks is almost up 2%. And again, XRP makes a cut into that top group. Let's take a look at our biggest losers. Okay, this is a little bit bigger than I was looking at earlier. We do have eCash is down 5.25% in the last 24 hours. Thorchain down again this morning, 3.45. Aptos down 2.81. So yeah, let's see some others. Not a lot of big losers, but also not a lot of big gainers either. So within the last 24 hours, even though things have been a little volatile because there was dips in prices, we're kind of hovering in very similar levels we were about 24 hours ago. With that said, though, before we jump into the charts, T-Shroom, we have a big story this morning. Let's go ahead and dive into that, and then we'll be jumping into those charts right after that, and then we have our big announcement following that up.
Absolutely, Tim. Well, our big story today actually comes from this account that is believed to be Louis C.K. And he said something that has really kind of changed, signaling a change of tone from one of the world's largest comedians by popularity. He said, "Okay, I'm convinced. Let's do it. Switch all currency to Bitcoin or anything with a finite amount. No more money printing allowed. Just imagine if the government could not send money to other countries for endless wars unless we cut something else. Not because they didn't want to, but because they were out of money to spend. The only way to get more money would be to take from the American people on their taxes. I bet we would all take voting a little more seriously if our representatives had to be more responsible with our money for once and couldn't overspend without it coming out of our pockets." So, Tim, that's quite a change of tone there from Louis, and he's signaling to me that he gets it 100%. Like this is why Bitcoin is awesome, why it's better money.
Well, and there's a couple things to break down here. I want to make sure people understand. First of all, Louis C.K. is not somebody that we think highly of as a person. Of course, I don't know if you guys know his history and some other stuff. I was telling T-Shroom, even before scandals came out about him here a couple of years ago, I don't even remember the exact dates of it, I never really liked Louis C.K. One of the reasons why is because whenever I'd watch his jokes, it seemed like the majority of his jokes were about how much he hated his wife and hated his kids. And I was like, okay, I don't really love this. But the reason for bringing this up is that Louis C.K. has been a very outspoken anti-crypto enthusiast. He's very much been, he likes to engage with Bitcoin commenters. He loves to give them a hard time, explain why it doesn't work. So this does look like it is a change in his direction. The other thing about this is it's not really sure, this account. Let me go to his account real quick. Share my screen here, T-Shroom. There's a lot of speculation about, is this even Louis C.K.? You guys can see it's Louis K.C., first of all. And he says, of course, I'm not Louis C.K., but maybe comedy, parody, and satire. It's debated if this is actually him or not. But when you look at his posts, the posts are pretty darn close to what Louis C.K. would say. So the fact that this person and this account has historically been very anti-crypto and recently put out a tweet like what T-Shroom just read, that is a big deal. There was another tweet he put out right before that, though, that kind of makes it seem like he still is on the fence. And this is a funny one, too. And I'm going to read this one for you guys. He said, "Okay, you Bitcoin people are relentless. I appreciate the hustle. I'll bite. Let's just pretend all currency converted to Bitcoin. Nice job. Now you own 0.5 Bitcoin total and are renting an apartment and getting paid a normal salary of 2 Bitcoin per year. You would like to buy a house one day, but the only houses people are willing to sell are for at least 22 Bitcoin. The only way you could buy it is if you borrowed Bitcoin from someone and paid Bitcoin interest. You do it at 5% interest. You also lose your job later. And then you to keep things afloat, someone offers you a Bitcoin credit card at 15% interest. You have no choice to question what makes this different than our current economy. So he still is kind of pointing out like, hey guys, money is not like overnight all of our money problems would just go away. There's still some situations. The only difference, Louis C.K. or not Louis C.K., whoever this is, would be we're dealing with a deflationary asset rather than an inflationary asset. Or not deflationary, an asset that has a finite number, as he put in his other tweet, and value will just continue to climb and climb and climb and climb and climb. And it wouldn't be long before houses are 1 Bitcoin, not 22 Bitcoin. So interesting stuff we're seeing there. T-Shroom, a former hater coming out in support of the concept of crypto. What are your thoughts about all that?
It's actually interesting because I heard over the weekend something that people don't really realize, but people who really understand inflation deeply should know this intuitively, that if Bitcoin only ever stays at, let's say, $26,000 per coin, right? That's all we need it to do in order to be a hedge against inflation. Now, it's more than likely not going to stay at that, right? There'll be movements to the upside as there's, broad-based adoption in the future, right? But if you really understand inflation, then $25,000 versus the dollar, like, you are winning, right? You are just hedging effectively, right, against inflation. Especially if that trend continues, if the trajectories of the two different currencies, the United States dollar and Bitcoin, continues as they are now, you will be more than a winner at the end of the day just by holding Bitcoin. So it's fascinating, and people shriek and they sell when Bitcoin ranges in these like low prices. But this is we've already won the battle of convincing people who truly understand economics, and that's, in my opinion, more than half the battle. So it's excellent.
Yeah, I'll continue to say, though, as much as, again, seeing this stuff is positive, I'll stay in the boat. I still don't know if Bitcoin is the long-term solution in terms of actively being used on the daily basis currency. I don't think that's Bitcoin's job. I think Bitcoin should be the ultimate store of value, whereas we use some other form of crypto for actual day-to-day transactions. So that I even that side, like, I don't know where you let me know in chat where you guys are standing. Do you think Bitcoin could still be used for currency? Do you think it should be used as currency, or do you think it should become the ultimate just store of value and something else gets used on the daily basis? Let me know what you guys are thinking. But T-Shroom, let's go ahead and jump into TA here in a second. But first, do the elves have a trivia question of the day?
They do.
They take the day off. Okay, here we go.
This was a good one. Little Elf, really came in clutch, guys. What was Billboard's #1 year-end Hot 100 single of 2022? Was it A, How You Remind Me by Nickelback? Was it B, Complicated by Avril Lavigne? Or was it C, Soak Up the Sun by Sheryl Crow? Or could it possibly be Lose Yourself by Eminem? Tim, you want to give it a swing there? I know you're a huge 2002 music fan, so.
Yeah, I mean, at 8 years old, I knew everything about the music industry. I will say, Avril Lavigne, that is somebody who does not age. Like, she still looks like she might be a young musician, but she was around back then. Lose Yourself, not yet, because Lose Yourself came out, and I at 8 years old, I would not have appreciated Lose Yourself. I probably wouldn't have even been allowed to listen to it.
Okay.
So I don't think it's D. I want to say Complicated is a little bit later than that. Yeah, I see some people saying I'm kind of like, because I'm more aware of A, B, and D, and I didn't grow up like really loving Soak Up the Sun by Sheryl Crow. That makes me think Sheryl Crow was a little before my time. These others were during the prime of me kind of figuring this out in the music world. So I'm going to go with C.
Okay. All right.
Eric Wallen says, Tim only listens to Hallelujah music. I don't know what's wrong about that. I feel like that is good music, but I listen to other music other than Hallelujah music. I just appreciate Hallelujah music.
Yeah.
That's a good question, though. That's a good question, Elves. We'll find out here after the TA section what that means. But go ahead, guys, if you guys are excited about the technical analysis section, go ahead and hit that like button. Let's jump into it. Go ahead and share my screen here, T-Shroom. So Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen, breaking through the level we discussed. Now, we got some things right. We got some things wrong here. We're going to break this down. But first, you guys know the Chart Prime section is always brought to you. Did I say the Chart Prime section? The charts brought to you by Chart Prime. Look at that. I've just started calling it the Chart Prime section because these are the best indicators. Whenever I'm doing technical analysis other places, people are constantly asking, what are these indicators? Because they are phenomenal. They're really helpful at helping identify predictive movements in the market. You definitely need to get this into your portfolio of trading. We're going to take a look at a lot of these indicators today, but make sure you go check out down in the description below. Check out Chart Prime. Get 45% off your first month or quarter. Let's talk about price action real quick before we jump into those indicators, what we got right, what we got wrong here with Bitcoin. Now, we talked about back last week that what we were looking for is a breakthrough of this resistance zone with increased volume to help confirm it. Then we were looking for a pullback to kind of retest a former resistance level and turn it into support. What I got right was the volume came in kind of confirming the bulls are ready. What I got wrong was where that support level would be. I would have thought 27,000 would have been the level, and then the lower end, I would have thought 26.8. But it turns out when you're looking at like the 4-hour chart, you're looking at candle body closes. Yes, we had some wicks pull all the way back here to 26.6, but in reality, you're kind of seeing the rejection kind of came closer to 26.7, which you can see was a lot of like resistance zone back here a couple of days ago. So instead of using a former resistance zone from back all the way in August, we used a more recent one with candle body closes right here around 26.7, give or take. And that was our support level. So again, the theory of what we talked about was right. Levels a little bit off. Either way, I still believe this is the confirmation we were looking for some more bullish things to come into the space. You pair this with the fact we talked about it this morning. We got the EU inflation rate coming in lower than we thought. We're looking at a high prediction, pretty much a guarantee. We're going to continue to get a pause from the FOMC. I think this all bodes well for a short-term positive price action in Bitcoin. But let's take a little look further by pulling up some of these oscillators. While we did get the overbought and red reversal flash here just a couple of days ago, you guys have heard me talk about this several times. This is a classic when you're looking at oscillators. This is a classic regrouping for another push. And there's two ways of kind of looking at this. You could make an argument that right now we're kind of somewhat forming some bearish divergence, but I want to see multiple red candles before I would say this is bearish divergence. In reality, what I actually think we're regrouping for is a significant push to the upside where later on we'll form some bearish divergence. Just look at how low our RSI got. Look at how low the Chart Prime oscillator got. Don't be surprised if we don't rematch here on the RSI, getting back up to 90 as we pushed into this yellow box, maybe up here towards 28.6. But we set up some bearish divergence down the road. You'll also see here on the 4-hour chart, we did get our MVP oscillator flashing green for us, which, by the way, they don't call this the MVP oscillator anymore. They call it the volatility wave. They used to call it MVP oscillator, and I like that name, so I might still keep calling it that. But either way, this tool is extremely valuable, coming in saying, hey, this low down here was a good buy for a second push. And again, do not be surprised to see us push up even higher. What could be very bullish is if we actually do exceed 90 on the RSI, if we do exceed these higher levels on the oscillators for Chart Prime, because then what we're looking at is maybe a couple of waves up here before we get the real bearish divergence we need to move to the downside. So from the oscillators perspective, let's even take a look what we're seeing on the daily chart. Daily chart not overextended just yet. So the daily chart has been bullish here for a little while, but you guys can see here we still have further room to the upside to go. So that's looking good. When you drop down even lower, kind of similar thing here with the 1-hour chart. Technically, we have a little bit of bearish divergence. So we maybe see a repull back down to 27,000, possibly, but you can still see even on the hourly chart. MVP oscillator kind of screaming at us, hey, that was a good buy when we dipped back here. The oscillators were not getting overbought, overextended flashes. We did get an engulfing candle in the RSI, but as a whole, I'm still thinking later on this afternoon, early tomorrow, in anticipation of that FOMC, we're probably going to see some more positive price action coming in. Let's take a look at some of the other indicators we have, though. And I want to start out here at the 4-hour chart because this is one of the ones we have been looking at. Now, We will see. I want to see what happens in price action. You guys know 28.6 was one of the levels I was talking about, a former level of support that I thought we could retest to resistance. We did slow down the momentum. Even though I still think where price gets up here, I just do want to make sure I clarify this. Whereas before this wave was starting to continue to push to the upside, this wave's momentum is slowing down and starting to move sideways. I still think we can get higher up into it. I think we could even do something similar to what we've done in the past, like back here in June, where we don't even reject at that wave. We turn that wave purple because we actually blast through it and make it climb to the upside. However, it is something to keep your eyes on, that this wave is no longer extending to the upside. It's kind of moving sideways, and we have now had 2 touches into that wave that could be problematic. So let's continue to watch how that develops right there. You will see, though, again, nothing really else is going bad here. I'm going to go down to the hourly chart to see what our dynamic reactor is doing. We came back down here and retested the other day, but again, we didn't even come back down to the dynamic reactor yesterday during that dip. We came down instead to the trend assistant. And you see this wave as well. We're kind of getting up in there, getting rejected. So let's definitely keep our eyes on that. But according, again, to the macro news and some things on the macro charts, it looks like we should have continued waves to the upside for Bitcoin. Let's take a look. Last thing, go back out to the 4-hour chart. Let's take a look at multi-time frame support and resistance. Remember, we do have some order blocks even up here towards 28.1. Again, I think that we still go a little higher than that, but it's something to keep our eyes on. And then our first level of multi-time frame resistance coming in confluence with that 28.6 we discussed in so much detail. If for some reason the bulls are able to gain a lot of momentum, watch also for levels even as high as this 12-hour strongest level at 29.6. That's a little too rich for my taste at this time, but you definitely want to be aware of those levels. And then here's where it gets really spicy. While I still believe that we'll be rejected somewhere in this zone and move back down to the downside, if the bulls somehow mount and are able to reconquer 30,200 and we start actually now setting higher highs than we had back here in August, I'm not saying it would be impossible at that point to drop back low 25.2, but I would say the case for a sub $25,000 price starts to get slim if for some reason we're able to get above 30,200. So again, do I think that those things are going to happen? No, but I do have to be prepared to adjust my strategy and adjust my opinion should we see those things change in the future. That's our Bitcoin TA for you guys today. A lot of good stuff happening, but again, next couple of days, I think there's a lot of reason to be positive and bullish. I'm interested, though, tomorrow, what does Jerome Powell say from the podium? Let's take a look at some other coins. I know you guys love Cardano. Cardano doing something really good, breaking through a former level of resistance. You love to see it. The problem is we are having some bearish divergence kind of form here, and I want to watch how that kind of operates, even though we're slightly ignoring it. That usually is still a sign that the price was overextended. You're also going to see here, this is the Kraken account, but you're going to see it's not like we necessarily have a lot of volume. So while I don't want to be a raining on the parade of Cardano, this to me, guys, is not the most overwhelmingly bullish looking chart I've ever seen, but it is a start to get back up here, get back above 25 cents is very interesting. You guys know the level I'm kind of watching to say, hey, if the bulls really gain some control, could we move up higher? I think 30 cents is going to be a hard zone to get above, but it's a possibility that Cardano can make a decent little pump to that. Let's take a look at our market Oracle Pro. We're on the 4-hour. You're going to see that rejection wave, the resistance wave is not even saying that's really where it wants to go. I think it's kind of implying 27 cents would be a very bullish move in the short term for Cardano. This is a season right now, guys, where Bitcoin, while I'm bullish on Bitcoin and I think other coins can move to the upside, Bitcoin dominance is continuing to move back to the upside. We're back above 50%. I think we're going to continue to see that wave move to the upside. Let's take this down for just a second and just look at price action. You guys know I still am kind of outside believing there's a chance for a 60% dominance on Bitcoin. I think that's a hard one. I think more realistically, 55 to 57 cents is 57% is a more realistic zone for dominance to get to. But I'm holding out. We're seeing what that looks like. Either way, though, I'm still believing that Bitcoin dominance, it's not bull market yet. It's not going to be about until 2 months after the Bitcoin bull market starts that we should see this dominance start to plummet as altcoins begin their really, really bullish season. But keep this in the back of your mind when we're looking at Cardano and we're looking at XRP back above 50 cents. Don't be surprised to see Bitcoin continuing to outgain them during these bullish movements. This is the time of the year in a 4-year cycle that Bitcoin picks up some more dominance. And especially when you add in the news, some of the biggest news happening right now has to do with the future of Bitcoin institutional adoption. That's why you're going to see Bitcoin kind of outpace it for the next couple of months, in my opinion. XRP, though, taken while we're looking at it, a lot of room to the upside here on the daily chart. Again, I think this is 155 cents. You guys, I almost became like the 55-cent guy. No one thought that I was correct when we were talking about 55 cents up here at 83 cents on XRP, and yet it ended up being a too bullish prediction. We dropped down even below it. Watch for that 55 cents to come back into the equation of being some resistance here for XRP. Let's go to the 4-hour chart, see what it is saying with all of these indicators and oscillators. And we might be wrapping up our TA. Yeah, it's 9:30. This will be the last thing we talk about here for TA. That's not necessarily the most overwhelmingly positive thing I'm seeing. We got a lot of things going on bearish here for the XRP 4-hour chart. Now we have a little more room to the upside with this cloud, but keep an eye out. There's 3 different oscillators kind of calling for bearish movement here on XRP. That's a bearish divergence starting off. That's a peak seeker and a red reversal. We're not getting the overbought flash necessarily, but that's a lot of bearishness happening right there on the 4-hour chart. Let's take a look what the hourly chart is saying. Is it saying we have more room to the upside, or is it kind of dragging on sideways? Yeah, don't like that we're sitting right there in the wave. And I also, let's see, come on, load for me, chart prime oscillator. Take your sweet time. Oh, it just doesn't want to show right now. Okay, well, I'm looking at the RSI, and the RSI for sure is showing some bearish movements here where we had a flat top and now we're getting lower as price continues to climb up. That's bearish divergence as clear as it gets. Let's see if the 2-hour, I'll go split the difference. Does it give me a 2-hour chart? Sometimes TradingView doesn't load it fully. Come on now. There we go. It's not overwhelmingly bearish here on the 2-hour chart. Red reversal, but we kind of ignored that. Again, I'm not necessarily, though, looking at XRP as bullish as I am on Bitcoin, but that's in reality, guys, as I just said, there's not a lot of altcoins out there that are going to be outpacing Bitcoin. Toncoin's had a great last month. Some other coins have had some good months, but when you're looking at some top coins, top projects, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, Solana, do not be surprised to see Bitcoin outpacing them over this next month, maybe next couple of months. But that's the TA we have for today. T-Shroom, we can go back to our bro cam. And I'm interested in the answer from the elf, and then we're jumping into this big news and engage with chat here for just a second, because this is some big news. And some people already know what it is because we kind of teased it in our Discord, which, by the way, if you're not in our free Discord, it's free. I don't know why you're not in that Discord. And even more so, we kind of tease this kind of stuff to our members during our bro time. So if you guys want to be more involved and in part of the Investing Bros community, make sure to hit that join button and become a member today. Let's see. Piper said, I love Cardano beans with butter and garlic. Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, T-Shroom, before we get into this announcement, what is the answer to our trivia question today? I'm actually interested to know about this one.
Well, the elves make no buts about it. The answer here is pretty straight up the middle. It is A, How You Remind Me by Nickelback. You can take a look here according to Billboard's year-end hot singles. You Remind Me. Nickelback was number 1 there for 2022. We were all flying high, completely blissfully unaware of what was just around the corner with the 2008 housing crisis. Right now, you might ask, well, what's the number 1 song right now according to the same metric? It is Vampire by Olivia Rodrigo, followed by Paint the Town by Doja Cat, and some other stuff. But if you look here, in the early September, it was Richmond, North of Richmond. A little soul, a little bit of actual substance here by Oliver Anthony. Of course, you know him, you love him, I'm sure. Statistically, if you're watching this, you do. But
he is America's favorite redhead at the moment.
That's right. That is right.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into what we were going to reveal here. Thank you, Mr. Factoid Elf, for bringing us another great factoid here on this Tuesday. See you later.
Yeah, I'll also say as we're wrapping out that trivia question before we get in the announcement, we're just teasing a little more. Unpopular opinion, T-Shroom, but I'm interested what chat thinks. I think Nickelback is overhated. Are they my favorite band? Absolutely not. Do people hate them in very unrealistic ways?
Tim.
Yes, they do. I think they're a way better band than a lot of people give them credit for.
You're going to get us banned on YouTube, man, with saying stuff like that.
Is that really? Is that part of the new algorithm? They ban people that are Nickelback fans? I wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised if that was the case. But let's get into it. All right, guys. Big announcement here for the channel. We've had viewership go all over the place, but there's only a couple of you that want to hear it, and that's completely fine. Everybody else will hear it because we got a little bit less than 1 week before this takes action. Our big announcement for Investing Bros. Do we have a drum roll, T-Shroom? I'm just keeping people on the edge of their seats. Oh, that was short. That was short and not very climatic. So we've been talking about this now, T-Shroom and I, for about a week or so. We've talked to a couple people, and again, there's been a lot of things that have happened recently that have kind of said, hey, this is going to be the best move for myself, for T-Shroom, but ultimately, we are also very optimistic this is the best decision for the channel. So we started this, we're going to be celebrating a 1-year anniversary here coming up in November for Investing Bros, which is amazing. You guys have been fantastic the whole time. And we've shifted the show a little bit. We started off doing like a 9 to 10. There was a period of time where we started doing an hour and a half long show from 9 to 10:30. We ended up shifting back down to an hour, doing 9 to 10. But there is going to be another move of schedule for the time of the show. We're going to be moving the show to the afternoon starting next Monday, 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is going to do a lot of really cool things. First of all, it's going to free up mine and T-Shroom's morning to get some other things done that we definitely have to do in the mornings. But it's also going to allow for all of our community out in California to be awake and alive. It's still, of course, going to get the East Coast people and Midwest people. But then even some of our conversations with our community of our fans in Europe, they're saying, like, listen, at the moment, this is like the middle of their workday, or some people are even already getting on a bus to go home. This is going to allow people in Europe in their evenings who want to continue to engage with crypto content to continue to be a part of the channel. But here's the big question, because a lot of you guys are saying, we've had this feedback, like, oh, like you guys are my 9 a.m. slot. Like how, like that was part of my morning routine to listen to Investing Bros. Well, the goal here actually, because we have a large community that are wanting to watch 9 a.m. stuff, we're going to start putting out some content, some TA videos that I come in early in the morning and shoot, and we'll post those. We'll be putting out some stuff like phone videos from big news that drop. So our plan is to continue to put pre-recorded content out at 9 a.m. or around 9 a.m. And then we're going to be moving the live show to 4 to 5. B Team Crypto said, is that Frankie's time slot? No. So that's another thing that definitely plays a part of this whole thing, is there's a lot of content that happens all throughout the day, but to our knowledge, there's nobody that really goes live from 4 to 5. We'll be able to kind of fit right between, you guys know Kelly Kellum has his afternoon show from 3 to 4. We're going to be going live 4 to 5. Then ATB will start 5 to 6. And then Frankie can't, or 5 to 5:30. Frankie Candles doesn't go live till 5:45. So this is the perfect slot, the perfect time to kind of move the show into that and incorporate more people into the community. I've seen a couple people here saying they're not going to be able to watch at that time, and I am very, very sorry. And we knew when we made this decision that there's going to be some people that could not make that slot work, and that's why we're going to continue to put out our morning content just pre-recorded. But I again, for everyone who that does not work for, I am very, very sorry. But this was a conversation T-Shroom and I had, and it's going to be best for us. And again, I also believe it's going to be very good for the growth of the community as a whole. So let's see here. Yeah, a couple people. Elo Brown. Did any of the other bros agree to this? Other bros, I mean, we've engaged with a couple of our members over in chat. We've engaged with some other people advising it. So yeah, not that we expected this to be a 100% everybody. This works perfectly for them, but it is something that's going to be going forward, happening moving forward. So yep. A lot of people. I'm sorry. That's tough. I'm sorry, guys. But with that said, that is the future of the show. Let us know. Elo Brown says rug pull. That's not a rug pull. I hear you though. I'm sorry, Elo. We will still put out content 9 a.m. for you to watch that morning. T-Shroom, anything you want to say about that? Any of your thoughts on those details?
Yeah, I mean, don't underestimate what we're still going to be putting out at 9. And we have a public Discord. You can literally come in for free, join it, and tell us what you think, and with respect. But tell us what you think and what you'd like to see, consistently. What is the best part of the morning show that we may be able to replicate a dimension of in the morning through recorded media? So just let us know what you think, and how we can just continue to serve our morning audience. It's not like we're giving up on the morning bros. We're just, things have to change, and we're an agile startup company. That's what you have to do. So we do appreciate the sacrifices you guys have made, and we don't belittle that at all. We've taken into consideration, but the afternoon is just going to be have to where we pivot to, and we're going to do everything we can to maintain the quality that we put out in the morning as well.
Yeah, King D said, what about the X Space? 545 is still the spot that we're doing. Wednesday nights are our X Spaces, so that doesn't happen. That doesn't conflict either. So, yeah, on Wednesdays, you'll literally get to watch the live show from 4 to 5. We'll have about a 45-minute break, and then we'll be putting out a space topic for you guys to come in and talk as well. So that's not going to change. And, so as a whole, for everybody in chat, there's some people that seem to love this idea, some people that hate it, and it is what it is. We're going to have to continue just to move forward. But again, I want to urge every one of you guys, we're still going to be putting out 9 a.m. content. You guys are still going to be operate with the bros. And of course, in Discord, the chat never stops. So over in Discord, we'll still be engaging, answering questions, talking about crypto, talking about everything else that we talk about. So there we go. It is time to continue to move on, though, with the show here, T-Shroom. Let's get into some other stories happening today. What do you got going on over there?
Yes, absolutely. We've got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to start with the biggest kind of TradFi adoption headline here, which is Japan's largest investment bank, Nomura, launches Bitcoin adoption fund. They've been planning this since about May, it looked like, from my research this morning. But here's the facts, which is that Nomura Holdings is a $500 billion financial giant that provides brokerage to lending institutional investors. The fund will now provide institutions with the seamless way to access the digital asset Bitcoin. Maybe you've heard of it, leading to widespread adoption. So, will this immediately, send the price skyrocketing for Bitcoin? No, right? But this is an essential next step for what is Japan, probably like in the top 5 largest economies. So it's a big deal. It's not the biggest deal, right? But it's a pretty big deal. So definitely applauding that story. Tim, if you haven't, it's just a good story. I don't know if you have too much of anything to say about that one.
You're good.
Moving on then, SEC fails to win immediate inspection of Binance US software. Guys, this spells another huge loss for the SEC. It's kind of becoming a series at this point. Hulu's going to start making you pay for it or making you watch ads to follow along. But the SEC failed on Monday to convince a federal magistrate judge, you don't see that word very often, to immediately let officials delve into Binance.US's software, a setback for the Wall Street regulator in its case against the crypto trading platform, Binance.US. Federal magistrate Judge Zia Fariquay said during a Monday hearing that he wasn't inclined to allow the inspection at this time. Instead, he said the SEC should come up with a more tailored request and speak with additional witnesses. So again, like I said, this comes at a time, that the SEC has kind of been on defense, and now it looks like they're getting another big blow to the eye. Tim, at what point do you just give up if you're Gary?
Well, I don't know if he needs to give up. The truth is, while he's not winning in court, he's accomplishing a lot with the FUD he's putting out. Binance.US, I don't think he's going to do anything of real damage to Binance itself, but I think there's a very decent chance that Binance.US somehow is not able to even make it into this next bull market. There's an outside chance still. I'm not saying there's 0%, but it's just getting blow after blow after blow to its ability to continue to sustain. They're losing customers left and right for no reason whatsoever other than fear mongering being done by Gary Gensler. So I think you can almost make the statement, while this won't count as a win in a courtroom for Gary Gensler, he is effectively dismantling and getting rid of a large U.S. exchange. So, yeah, that's my opinion on that one's kind of like, hey, I would almost count this as a win for Gary in one way or another. Not that this is one, it's not a win that would help him save his job, but he is being kind of effective with his strategy.
I could see that. My prediction on Binance.us has been there's not going to be a big gotcha moment of fraud or something like this, or money laundering or something. I don't think that there's going to be a gotcha moment for Binance.us. A, because their legal team is too strong, but B, I think it would have already happened. And then C is like what you see the news today is like these judges are not inclined, right, to make this happen for the SEC. It's just not part of their agenda for whatever reason. Or it's not, if you want to look at it, the bright side, it's not justice in their view, right? So let's keep it that way. But, my prediction is that there's not going to be a big gotcha moment for Binance.us. It's going to be just kind of a slow burn. And I think we've already seen potentially the worst of it for Binance.us as the trading volumes have just evaporated over time, right, over the last probably year and a half. And now I think they're just, it's not like they got smacked. It's just that folks have slowly, removed their assets from that app, and now they're going elsewhere. And I think Binance.us is just, it's just kind of faded into the background. Now, fast forward 5 years from now, who knows what Binance has been able to do to pivot, because they still have a ton of assets. They still have a lot of resources and connections with marketers that are effective. So I wouldn't count them out, but I think for this battle they've lost. Even though they just won in court, they've kind of lost the market share value of the U.S. And now it's just can they regroup and maintain a kindling of the fire of their brand and their business to be able to fight another day. Well, someone else who's fought many battles and been very successful is Elon Musk. Now he's going to be switching some things up over on the platform. Elon Musk says Twitter and now X is moving to a monthly subscription fees and has 550 million users. So that's the good news. So Twitter is running strong with plenty of users, but now there's going to be a small fee, he said on an interview with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So that's pretty interesting. Tim, are you going to pay for X?
Well, my assumption is, first of all, this is probably not going to end up happening. I don't think that will work out well for Elon. This might have been like a little bit of a phishing scheme of being like, hey, how is this going to, what's the public reaction going to be to this, just to see, how we want to move forward. But the other thing is, like, I already have a verified account. I would imagine this would not affect people. I saw people with like blue check marks commenting, oh, I'm gone then. It's like, well, you're already paying for your account because you're a verified person. So I don't know how that affects you. But if engagement drops, and that, again, the reason why I don't think it's going to go through is because the engagement would absolutely die immediately if this happens. So I'm not 100% certain what the thinking is from Elon and his team, but I'm not highly predicting this is actually going to happen.
All right, so I'm going to take the opposite of that. I think it will happen, but I think it's going to happen after major launches of new products and services on X. Remember, X is trying to, Elon has had this long-term view of X and Twitter being kind of the WeChat of the West, and it could be. So those of you who don't know WeChat, it's like a lot of different major apps, like your banking, your news, social media, all in one app is what exists for Chinese folks. And they're able to just use one app that's, not great. It's not great that it's centralized over there, but that's Elon's vision. And I think what's going to happen is he's going to launch some killer features of X, perhaps bringing back Vine, perhaps bringing back kind of what Vine was. He did say that he wanted to do that in 2023, but it'll be after those new issuances of value to the user base that then he'll turn around and say, you got to pay for it. So I don't know. I think that this will go over pretty well. I think what's happening here is that X and Elon and I can't remember her name, but the CEO, they've probably hired some of the best pricing strategists because by now folks, like there's consultants that know how to price the subscription bases really well for technology. And of course, there's going to be a trade-off. There will be people who leave. But according to their calculations, they wouldn't have come out with this statement at such a high level with the Prime Minister of Israel if they weren't confident that they weren't going to lose more than they were going to gain. So lose less than they were going to gain. So I think it will go through, and I think that it'll be okay. But it'll still. It's like how people pay a subscription to Amazon Prime. It's like you you get that value back in savings and in convenience of not having to go to Walmart to get stuff, right? So anyway, we can move on. But that's a good take, Tim. I don't completely disagree with you, but I just take the other side. I think it will go through. Despite the decreases of inflation, still remains far above the European Central Bank's 2% objective. The revision down this morning was bullish for markets, though, and we saw a little bit of a response. But that's going to be our European inflation revision was bullish. Moving into this Ripple story here, this account Dark Horse. You can follow them there on x.com. Said XRP Ripple, sorry, this is kind of pot calling the kettle. Just few years, hopium and scammers have been posting 10K, 50K, and been incorrect with their price predictions. Meanwhile, the Ripple founders hit the rich list and post 2 million Porsches. Would have taken one post to correct the BS, just one post. And then, kind of by surprise, David Schwartz, who is the CTO at Ripple, goes ahead and responds to this and says, I completely understand why you feel this way. I do too sometimes, but it's a lot harder than you think. We don't know everything, and even a small chance we debunk something true is worrisome. If we call out everything we know is false, we'll be seen to be enforcing things we don't know aren't fake because we won't call them out. There are other issues too, such as legal risks. He couldn't have said this in a way that's more confusing, but ultimately what's being said here is, we don't want to call out these price predictions because they could be true. And whenever you're talking about price action of any asset, you are taking a risk of that being misconstrued as financial advice. So David, as the CEO or the CTO in this case of a major company, you have to be careful what you say. But it is a good point that is raised by Dark Horse, which is these crazy price predictions of currently an asset that's worth less than $1 could be valued at $10,000 in the future. That is a pretty crazy prediction. But David's coming back and saying, well, it could be true though, so we can't come out and say it's not. Tim, your thoughts on this? Would be valuable. What do you think about these price predictions? Because it's kind of our business to do that, right? But I don't think we've ever predicted XRP price that high.
The truth is, the reason why this isn't actually too ridiculous, even though I think those price predictions are ridiculous, I think it would be wrong for anyone from Ripple to do heavy speculation on where price can and cannot go. The truth is, I think it's actually a good move. Now, his response is a little weird because he's almost like, oh, we don't want to say it's not going to happen, and then it actually happens, which I kind of understand, but it's more of like saying hey, Ripple CTO, Ripple CEO, Ripple COO, everyone at Ripple, don't worry about price. We worry about making XRP and Ripple the greatest functioning company that you can make it to solve real world problems. Let others speculate on where the price will go. Let others speculate on the best way to invest in it here and there. You just make sure it's a company worth investing in, and it's a token that is moving in positive directions. We don't need the CTO to comment, does price get to only $10 or $30 or $589? Or we don't need their price predictions on that. So I think it's a story that's very interesting, and his response was interesting, but ultimately, I think it's smart for CTOs and CEOs to not comment or try to predict where their token price could get to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I can't agree more. I mean, that's clearly what the legal teams of all of these companies like Cardano and, Ethereum, you don't hear the leaders of these like Hoskinson or Vitalik ever saying anything about the price. Right, that would just not be. It would be a little bit gauche, a little bit socially inappropriate to kind of flex, right? Not that they've never done that, but it's also kind of a legal risk to do something like that. So we've got a last story here. It's actually the first SBF/FTX story that I've actually found interesting in a while. FTX bankruptcy estate sues Sam Bankman-Fried's parents, Joseph and Barbara, to call back misappropriated funds. So FTX trading paid $18.9 million, inclusive of taxes, fees, and costs, for Blue Water, to which Bankman-Fried and which Bankman and Fried received title, as well as various expenses related to Blue Water totaling more than $90,000. So there was all this pork just forked over to the parents of SBF, and a lot of that information is kind of coming out now and is being digested by the media. Well, that's going to conclude our stories, and then what I'd like to do at the extra time is just kind of go back to the charts, and maybe look at the chat in general. Saw Mastermind kind of seeing where we were on the clock, said ETH chart, please. I don't do this very often, but I wanted to bring to the attention, this is Biddy. So this is the 4-hour on Biddy, which is the reverse ETF. It's a way that you can actually gain short exposure to Bitcoin price movement. Wouldn't recommend holding this for very long, guys, right? But you can see here that it is pretty effectively, this is a classic rejection of what was support into resistance here on Biddy on the 4-hour. So, that's bullish, right? And it's happening above the equilibrium zone. So it's going to get kind of crunched in here, seeing which way this breaks. It's not a 1-to-1 of Bitcoin, but it's functionally supposed to be that. So it shouldn't be a huge surprise to you. I'm only pointing this chart out because it has actually broken that structural pattern there. But Tim, maybe we can look into the chat or look into the charts and see some things we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, we can. I mean, what we saw Ethereum. People ask for Ethereum. Other coins you guys want to see. What time do we have? We have about 5 minutes left, so I can probably do one coin. Go ahead and chat. I'll give you guys a chance to spam chat with your choice of a coin. If I don't see a lot, then we're gonna go with Ethereum and kind of dive deeper into that. But let me know in chat what your coin you want to see is. But yeah, I think, even kind of continuing as with chat, because one of the things that T. Shroom and I do pride ourselves on with this channel, guys, is we want to be here for the community. We want to grow this community. We want to help people understand better. Some of the people I've seen that have been frustrated, they're looking frustrated at this decision. I want you guys to know, we very much were we knew that not everyone would love this decision. It is what we think is best, not only for the two of us, but for the long-term success of the channel and the long-term success of the community. And so I want you guys to know, it is completely okay to be upset and to be frustrated and to voice this. That's nothing. We really appreciate you guys voicing your opinions, and we want to continue to grow the channel with and for you guys as well. So continue to give us suggestions on what you guys want to see, and to the best of our ability, we're going to continue to give you guys what you want, how you want it. But obviously, you guys need to understand there's only so many things T. Shroom and I can do throughout the day. Part of the decision making is, at the moment, this channel is not at a size where it feeds our families and we can just do it whenever and however. So taking into consideration the rest of our lives and the work we do outside of this to provide and to care for, I have a wife and kids. T. Shroom's an engaged man, soon to have a wife. Who knows? Maybe kids coming soon after that. It never is fun for us to make decisions that you guys don't like, that we need to make, but ultimately we do have to make some of those decisions sometimes. And we really appreciate you guys, even if you're frustrated, your continued support, your continued love, because we would not have gotten where we even are now without you guys. And my belief about the future of this channel is that we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to be one of the best communities out there in the space. We're just making some small shifts to make it easier on mine and T. Shroom's lives. And what we honestly believe, at first we do expect a little dip in views, a little dip in engagement, but I believe that 4 to 5 slot long-term is going to be amazing for the channel and for me and T. Shroom. And then in the future, who knows? T. Shroom and I have talked in the past. We had a vision a long time ago. Who knows if maybe even the future looks like an all-day live stream of some kinds? Who knows what that looks like? But for now, this is the best decision for both me and T. Shroom. And I hope you guys can continue to support and love on us through that process. Let's see here. I see ADA. We did some ADA earlier. So do we want to look at ADA again? Maybe get a quick deep dive on ADA. Someone said ETH over Bitcoin. You know what? I'm going to do with that one. I like that one. ETH over Bitcoin. We talked about this a little earlier. Let's take a look at ETH over Bitcoin, and then we're going to close out today's stream. So remember, let's pull off this real quick. Remember, in a long-term perspective, we're out here on the daily chart. We're in a falling wedge pattern here on Ethereum over Bitcoin. But this is a long-term bullish pattern that should see Ethereum over Bitcoin climb to the upside. But as I've told you guys, and we're coming back down, and we're kind of sitting right on the bottom levels we had back on August 17th and back here on June 30th. We're sitting at that exact same level, and I'm expecting this Ethereum over Bitcoin price to continue to fall to the downside. What does that mean? Bitcoin dominance goes up. It doesn't mean Ethereum price goes down while Bitcoin goes up. We could watch both Bitcoin and Ethereum continue to climb to the upside, but simply Bitcoin outpacing in terms of the market cap growing, that is going to keep the Ethereum over Bitcoin chart moving to the downside. Let's take a look over here. We did get some short-term oversold flashes, but you guys can see on the daily chart, we're kind of ignoring that. Though this oversold and red and green triangle correspond to this action right here. I do want to keep an eyes on the MVP oscillator, though, that is starting to flash some green histograms, and the RSI is low. So do we potentially see a small bounce here again as we're kind of triple bottoming at this price of 0.06 and then a regrouping? I'm not sure exactly how it's going to look, but my expectation is, especially through to the end of October, maybe even early November, I would expect a push back down towards this blue line, back to support. That is what I'm seeing here on the Ethereum over Bitcoin chart. Let me know in chat what you guys think. With that said, though, guys, it is 10 o'clock. It is time for us to close up. Now, here's the thing. The rest of this week, we're still going to be live 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, we're not moving the live show until next week. We'll definitely still be putting out some phone videos, some TA. And I think I saw someone say it. T-Shroom and I have even talked about it. Maybe from time to time, there will still be a shorter live stream at 9 a.m., whether it's just T-Shroom, whether it's T-Shroom and another guest, maybe from time to time myself. But the permanent showtime moving next week is going to be 4 to 5. Make sure you guys check it out and continue to support the channel and support our evergreen content we're going to be putting out here as well very, very soon. With that said, though, guys, we love each and every one of you. We'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place. You guys have a great day.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.